Ever think about a career where you're elbow deep in huge machines, but also like on the cutting edge of technology?
Interesting.
Well, get this. Being a land-based machinery technician is kind of like that. And these RoleCatcher.com guys you shared, well,
Mhm.
they've been eye-opening to say the least.
It is a fascinating blend, isn't it? We often picture farming as, very traditional,
Right.
but the reality is it's incredibly high tech these days.
Absolutely. And speaking of high tech, one thing that jumped out at me was the emphasis on problem solving, critical thinking.
Yeah.
The guides make it clear this isn't just about like wrenching your diagnose complex issues, often out in the field.
That's exactly right. These technicians are often on their own,
Yeah.
needing to think on their feet and come up with solutions. It's not
Hmm.
just about knowing how to fix something. It's about figuring out what's wrong in the first place.
Yeah.
And that takes a sharp mind.
And it sounds like the tech involved goes way beyond what I even imagined. The guides mentioned GPS-guided tractors, which honestly blew me away a little.
Wow.
What kind of skills do you need to work on something like that?
Well, for starters, a solid understanding of electronics computer systems, that's becoming more and more important, you know?
Yeah.
These aren't your grandfather's tractors. You're
Mhm.
dealing with sophisticated software, sensors, automated systems.
Wow.
A technician working on a GPS-guided tractor might need to calibrate the guidance system, troubleshoot software glitches, or even reprogram certain functions. It's a whole other level of expertise.
So it's not just about being mechanically inclined.
Right.
It's about being tech savvy too.
Absolutely.
And speaking of skills, the guides also mentioned hydraulics and engineering principles being super important.
Sure.
What do those entail in this context?
Hydraulic systems are really the muscle behind many of these large machines. They're used for everything from lifting and lowering implements to powering attachments.
Okay.
A depth understanding of hydraulics is essential for diagnosing problems and making repairs. And while you don't need an engineering degree, a basic grasp of engineering principles, helps with things like understanding load limits, analyzing stress points, even just figuring out how all the different components work together.
It really highlights how this career demands both practical skills, A and D, a solid theoretical foundation. Like you're not just fixing a machine, you're understanding the science behind it. And it sounds like the learning never really stops in this field, does it?
You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Technology in agriculture is constantly evolving. New models come out with more advanced features. Software gets updated, and technicians, they need to stay ahead of the curve. This is where the guide's emphasis on continuous learning really resonated with me. They stress the importance of attending industry conferences, pursuing certifications, just having a thirst for knowledge.
Absolutely. And the guides even highlight some specific certification that can really boost, a technician's credibility, earning potential. Things like the ASES certification for automotive technicians or the certifications offered by like equipment manufacturers,
Right, right.
John Deere, Caterpillar.
Yeah, it's like having an industry stamp of approval, proving you got the skills to pay the bills.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, the guides do a great job of kind of breaking down the potential career paths here.
Yeah.
From entry level to senior technician, what kind of progression are we talking about? Well, you might start out assisting experienced technicians, with like routine maintenance,
Right.
gradually taking on more responsibility as you gain experience. With time, you could be leading your own repair projects,
Okay.
specializing in a particular type of equipment, or even moving into a supervisory role.
So there's definitely room to grow, specialize within this field. It's not like you're stuck doing the same thing day in and day out.
Not at all. In fact, the guides mention that some technicians leverage their expertise to, start their own businesses. They might offer specialized repair services, become like mobile mechanics,
Oh, interesting.
serving multiple farms, or even consult on equipment purchases and maintenance plans.
That's incredible. It really speaks to the entrepreneurial opportunities within this sector. But
Yeah.
let's shift gears a bit and talk about maybe the elephant in the room, the job outlook. The guides paint a pretty rosy picture.
Yeah.
But is the demand really that high?
It's definitely a promising time to be entering this field, I'd say. The demand for skilled land-based machinery technicians is projected to grow significantly in the coming years.
Wow.
This is driven by a few factors. First, global population is increasing, which means we need to produce more food.
Right.
Second, agriculture is becoming, increasingly mechanized and technology-driven,
Right.
which increases the need for skilled technicians to keep all that sophisticated equipment running smoothly.
That makes a lot of sense. And the guides also mentioned that experienced technicians are retiring, creating even more openings.
Precisely. So you've got a growing industry with a shrinking pool of experienced workers. That's a recipe for strong job security.
Music to a job seeker's ears. But let's be realistic. Every job has its downsides.
Right.
What are some of the challenges someone might encounter in this line of work?
Well, it's physically demanding work. You're often on your feet all day, lifting heavy parts, working in awkward positions,
Yeah.
and sometimes dealing with, less than ideal weather conditions.
Yeah, imagine working outside in the heat of summer or the chill of winter. Could be tough.
Definitely. And the hours can be long and irregular,
Right.
especially during peak seasons like planting and harvesting.
Right.
You might be working weekends, evenings, or even, on call to handle emergencies.
Yeah, it's not a 9-to-5 desk job, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But the guides also highlighted, the immense satisfaction that comes with this kind of work.
Absolutely. There's a real sense of accomplishment that comes from diagnosing a problem, fixing it with your own two hands, and seeing that piece of equipment back in action,
Right.
contributing to something as essential as, food production.
You're not just fixing a machine, you're helping to feed people. That's got to feel pretty good at the end of the day.
It does. And let's not forget the connection to nature.
Right.
You're working outdoors, often in beautiful surroundings, and
Yeah.
and playing a part in the cycle of planting, growing, and harvesting.
It's a different pace of life, for sure. And
Yeah.
speaking of different paces, let's talk about the future. We've already touched on how technology is rapidly changing this field. But the guides hinted at even bigger things on the horizon, like robotics and automation.
Sure.
What can you tell us about that?
Well, it's no longer a question of if, but when autonomous farm equipment becomes, commonplace.
Right.
We're already seeing prototypes of self-driving tractors, robotic harvesters,
Wow.
even drones that can, plant seeds and apply fertilizer.
It's like something out of a sci-fi movie. But what does that mean for someone considering a career as a land-based machinery technician?
Yeah.
Will these robots put them out of a job?
It's a valid concern, but I see it as an evolution, not an extinction. The role of the technician will undoubtedly change.
Yeah.
Instead of just fixing, mechanical problems, they'll need to become adept at programming, calibrating, and maintaining these robotic systems.
So even more emphasis on those tech skills we talked about earlier.
Exactly. They might be troubleshooting software glitches in a self-driving tractor,
Right.
optimizing the performance of a robotic arm, or even analyzing data collected by sensors to improve efficiency.
It's like being on the cutting edge of agricultural innovation.
Precisely. And who knows what other advancements are just around the corner.
Right.
Vertical farming, hydroponics, precision fermentation. These technologies have the potential to revolutionize food production, and they'll all require skilled technicians to keep them running smoothly.
It's mind-blowing to think about. This deep dive has really opened my eyes to like a whole world of possibilities within this field.
Me too. It's a career path with a bright future, full of challenges, opportunities for growth, and the satisfaction of knowing you're contributing to something truly essential.
Well said. This has been an incredibly insightful deep dive. So to anyone out there who's fascinated by big machines, loves technology, and wants a career with real impact, land-based machinery technician might just be the perfect fit. And who knows, maybe someday you'll be the one designing the robots that feed the world. Thanks for joining us on this fascinating journey, and until next time, keep exploring.